That's right, we're
Check it
here.
out one time. Up, up, whoop, whoop, whoop. Boop, ba-da, boop. Skip-a-da, boop, boop, ba-da-da,
Welcome everyone to Tavern Talk. That's right, this is a full spoiler show based on the epic fantasy series Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. My name is Ryan, and joining me as always is my brother Dan and Beth Doman from I Do Be Beth, YouTube, Twitch.
It's been that way for a really long
My
time.
God, I'm so old school. Jesus. All right, I'll fix my script soon.
The hottest thing on Twitch right now, Ryan, Beth Doman.
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't seen her games, streams, you are missing out. And but we'll get into that later because we have a great episode tonight. Jansen Lashman-Haynes will be joining us soon because he wants to get on in this discussion. We're talking cities, towns, and places we meet in the Wheel of Time. This is episode 2, and we're calling this A Traveler's Guide to a Great Hunt. All right, let's get nerdy. We have a great guest today, and
Hi, Rosa.
but before we bring our guest in, I just want to say hello, Beth. Hello to Dan. How's everyone feeling? How are we doing?
Peachy
Oh.
keen.
Beth, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so
Thanks.
glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here.
I'm doing well, Ryan. I am on location.
I
So
see
if
that.
If my internet sucks.
Location. Sorry.
So if my internet sucks, let's all blame Marriott, shall we?
Brother Dan, are you trying to get clandestine film footage of them like working on the Wheel of Time? Are you in Europe right now?
I've been stalking Marcus. He's pretty easy to see in a crowd. Saw him in a crowd, and
Does he ever wear a shirt? He never wears a shirt, huh?
Only when he goes in the shower or in the ocean. It's weird.
All right. Let's bring our guest in. He's been waiting patiently. He's a return guest. He had a great time last week. He's going to have a great time this week. Let's bring it to Varen Tavern. Hello, our good friend.
Hey, what's happening? Hi, everybody.
Tavern.
I'm so glad you're here.
Gracias.
So we were a bit remiss last time. You've been on a couple times, and I don't think we've really gotten to interview you much at all. We don't know your background, dude. We don't know your social security number. We don't know your
Blood type?
first pet's name. We don't know your blood type. We don't know your mom's maiden name. We need all kinds of stuff.
And at the end of this interview, you're still not going to know any of those things.
Because
But
check it out.
you
I'm
will
going to
know some
answer.
other things.
I am going to answer the first one about my background. Okay.
Yes, please. What?
There's a lot of books.
A lot of books.
yes.
There is the round
Oh,
back
man.
of my chair.
Dan, where's the button?
That was a good one. That was a good one.
That was horrible. Don't lie to me. That
I
was
liked it.
No, we love dad jokes around here. Well, at least I do.
Yes.
That
yes,
was
I'm
very
on board.
dad humor. I'm here for it. Here for it.
nice.
I loved it. So yeah, what got you into this community? What did you get into the books?
All right. So the Wheel of Time was recommended to me. I want to say like 2000. I want to say about 2000, 2001. And then when I rejoined the military, a couple years
Glut
after-
for punishment?
well, it was right after. It was 2001. We'll just say that it was 2001, and so about a year later, I started looking at re-up, and I needed something to read when I was on deployments. So I would have my wife send me like 2-3 books at a time, and so that's how I got into the books. I was deployed, reading the books. Came back.
Well, were you always reading fantasy books, or was she just
Oh, yeah.
picking any 3 books? And she
No.
just found the book?
I was specifically telling her to get me the Wheel of Time books.
Okay.
So she was buying and sending them 3 at a pop. But no, I
Do
was
you
a big
remember how
fantasy
you
nerd.
heard about them?
Yeah, it was a friend of mine, Dee, and she worked with me as a government contractor for a bit, and she recommended the books. I was like, okay, cool. Didn't think about it, and then I needed to deploy and I needed books, so I went and got the first three. And before I finished the first one, I was already, calling home saying, "Hey, go find 4, 5, 6." And then I had the big wait with everybody, just like everybody else, once I got to a certain number. And unlike a lot of you who were smart, I only read New Spring about a year and a half ago because when I got to the point where there weren't any books and I was waiting, just like, I saw New Spring. And for whatever reason, in my head, I was like, because I would go online and, I would see little blurbs about it here and there. And I remember thinking to myself, oh man, did he write a prequel because he had to answer a bunch of questions that people asked? And that just stuck in my head. And I never read it. And then Critter.
You're like, I don't want these answers.
Yeah. I mean, I hadn't finished the whole thing. So I wasn't really sure where the book fit. I knew it was
that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And I was like, so I was okay. So yeah, then Critter, I don't know, she challenged me, dared me, whatever. She's pretty good at that stuff.
Pretty good at eliciting a response.
Yes, she's sneaky. She got me to read the book. So yeah, there you go. That is how I got started.
And
nice. What book did you have to wait for?
I believe it was Knife of Dreams.
Kniffy of Dreams.
Was it Knife? Yeah, I think it was either. It might have been. I don't know. It's Crossroads of Twilight. Maybe Knife of Dreams. I mean, this is 2000. By the time that got around, I want to say it was like 2004, 2005. So I don't know what book was coming out around that time, or we were waiting for.
Actually, that's a good. While we conduct this interview, I want to ask chat. Let me know what book you had to wait for. Was it even the first book? Like, let me know if you where in the series did you have to start fucking waiting like everyone else?
You had to wait for the first book. That's
Well, if you knew it was coming and you're like,
you knew it was coming,
maybe you loved Conan and you're like, God damn it, I just can't get enough of this shit. I don't know. Maybe you're like that guy, or
Can't get enough
girl
of
or them.
the lamentations of the women.
Uh-huh.
That was the worst line in the history of movies.
Oh yeah, I'd say when Schwarzenegger was Mr. Freeze and he said, "Cool it."
Oh,
All right, so maybe is this a code?
No.
Mouse.
Oh.
Mr.
Oh
Gentleman
no. Oh, what is going on?
Mr. Gentleman TV. Top of the morning.
That's not very nice. Whatever that was. I don't know what that was.
All right, we'll move on. Yes, everyone pops that like and subscribe button.
I had to wait. The third book, Dragon Reborn, was what I had to wait for.
Oh my goodness.
And did you do that insane thing where like you read from book one every time a new book's coming out?
Probably until Winter's Heart. And then after that, I only started reading, like going back 2 or 3 books beforehand. Because it became too much of an undertaking to start from book 1.
Yeah.
That was a lot of reading. And the thing that's the most annoying thing about, if you remember back in those days, you're so excited to get that new book and you've waited up to 2 years because at some point it ended up being like more than a year between book releases, right? And then you read the whole thing in 3 days. Like you don't do anything. You call in sick to work. You don't do any chores around the house for the whole weekend. And then before you know it, you have read the entire book in 3 days. And you're like, oh shit, I gotta wait for another freaking 3 years for the next book to come out. And it's like,
I'm gonna tell you right now, Memory of Light, I read probably, I got the book and I started reading it I think my mother-in-law was over at the time, and I completely ignored her for the entire weekend. I was in a room just reading, and I basically told everybody, "Don't knock on this damn door," and that was it. I mean, I didn't stop reading, but look, I looked at the timeline. I was spot on. New Spring came out in 2004, and that's where I kind of was like, and then I had to wait for Knife of Dreams in 2005.
I've told this story before, but Tavarin, when I read the final book and got to the chapter The Last Battle, I had to wait. I could not, like, everything had to be perfect. It had to be good weather. I had to have a room to myself, and I still had little kids at the time. I had to be able to like everything had to be perfect for me to have it, because I knew I was gonna emotionally feel what was going on. This is what
you're like, okay, who's dying?
And Oil has the prologue, so it's like, oh Jesus, all right. So I needed to make sure that it took me about literally 2 months before I picked the book back up, because and I had it there. I wanted to read it, but I didn't want to read it. I didn't want it to end.
Right.
And so when I finally addressed this chapter, and it's 187 pages or something like that. It's a novella in itself. Yeah. And I knew I had to go straight through, and I knew I had to be in the proper frame of mind and the proper situation for me to tackle it. And that took about 2 months, to be honest.
I mean, like I said, I read straight through it, but then again, I was in the military at the time. I'd been deploying back and forth, and that mindset was already there. So I just plowed straight into it. I mean, I didn't even stop. I will say this: 3 most emotional times in my reading, fantasy, that is.
When Fael got captured?
Yeah, when Elaine struggled to gain House Rochard to her side.
No, and that one, that was close. It was close. It was moist. There was moistening. No, it was,
my God.
In my eyeball, Beth.
Yeah.
Eyeball, Beth.
My eyeballs are moist right now just thinking about him crying.
Out of the gutter, Beth.
I was literally pointing at my eyeball. So who's at fault now, Beth? Anyways, the death of Flint Fireforge, the death of Albus Dumbledore, and the entire last chapter of the Memory of Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just so many gut punches, but also, like, regardless of who lived, who died, you just knew the books were ending, and right?
Well,
and like,
yeah.
For some people, that journey was twice as long as us. I think Dan and I had to wait for book 8. I think it's kind of where I'm placing it. I think I started reading in college, and that was like 95, right? Like so, and then so we might be actually waiting for it. That'd be probably 96, 7, 8.
Yeah, I think you gave me 5 books to take home, and one of the books was missing. So we had 1 through 6, but book 5 wasn't there, which I think is Crown of Swords. Anyways, I'm not sure. Anyways,
Fires of Heaven, yeah.
Fires of Heaven.
Yeah.
Maybe it was book 4 then. Anyways, so I think it was book 7 we waited for, if I'm remembering.
Yeah, that's Crown of Swords, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's this is a 20-year journey, and I didn't realize it at the time. I just thought it was like, because the chapter was so long, but I did have apprehension about reading it because of the ending. I just didn't want it to end. So yeah, on a weird emotional level, it was hard for me to actually do it to finish. Anyways.
Yeah, I see that completely. I totally see that.
All right, Norman Garden, I love this. For as far as gut punches, I stopped reading the books after RJ passed. I didn't pick up the Sanderson books until almost a year after Memory of Light came out. Yeah, that was a gut punch. Thank you for sharing that. I'm trying to remember how I felt. I was dubious about
Same.
like how it was going to end up, and I didn't really all this. I felt like I don't know how to I didn't understand the Sanderson world. So when I was seeing that he was like posting so much online and stuff, I thought that he was like cloud chasing or something. I didn't get any of it. I was just, oh my god, I was worried, and then I was, I'm super happy with what he did, and I'm grateful, and I've read a bunch of his books, and I was wrong, and I'm happy to admit it, but I was a dick about a lot of things. I was in college.
You were?
I was, yes.
I like that past tense. That's funny.
All right. Let's get into the meat of the story. We are talking about geography, and the Great Hunt starts off in Fal Dara. Here we go.
It's only called that for 3 months of the year, actually, Ryan.
So,
come on,
Michael. All right, so Michael Livingston's book. He has a very short thing on Fal Dara. It says here, this heavily fortified city in the borderlands echoes Dara, the Roman fortress that stood on the border between the Eastern Roman Empire and the Sassanid Empire in the 6th and 17th century. Or 6th and 7th century. And Sassain that's exactly how you need to say it. I studied ancient.
So if somebody's from Sassain, are they
Sassanid? Yeah.
Is that where Assassins come from?
Sassanid. All right.
God, you guys are killing me today. You're literally killing me today.
All right, so this is this is Fal Dara. So a lot of shit goes down. This is the end of book 1, start of book 2. We have Lan teaching Rand some sword fighting, right? Isn't that how it starts off?
Yep. They're shirtless. Yeah.
And that's where we get the sheathing the sword, right?
Yes. No. That conversation comes later, after he's met the Amerlin seat, isn't it? Doesn't he tell Rand that as they're departing?
Does come later.
As they're departing Fal Dara, as the parties are, and it's like the first time that they've separated. Like the girls are going to go down to the White Tower, and they're chasing after the horn.
It's not when the wind comes.
No, he's like, sheep herder, listen to me carefully, and he tells me, it's like, there's going to come a time where you might need to sheathe the sword, and Rand's like, well, we've practiced sheathing the sword, and Lan is like, I believe it was when they were getting ready to depart Fal Dara, and if I'm wrong, somebody correct me, because
Yeah, and this is the chapter we find out that Moiraine, like, Rand's like, oh, Moiraine doesn't like me, and she's gone, and like Lan's like, oh, she's returning tonight, and that kind of, when you first read that, kind of hints that shit, she was at like the Dark Friend social, right? Because Ingtar returns later too, and you start, that was a nice little slight.
Well, let's talk a little about Fal Dara itself. Fal Dara is the northernmost city in the Borderlands. In in Shinar. It is way up top. It is the last line of defense, more or less, between the Blight and the civilized world, as we call it. So this place is actually pretty gnarly. According to the Wheel of Time fandom.com, it says that there is, at the center of Fal Dara is a dry moat, deep and wide with sharp spikes embedded in the bottom, and a second defensive wall studded with more towers. The whole thing is built for defense and for holding back Trollocs and Fades and all that. And theirs. The original city was called Malfal Daranel.
Malfal Daranel.
Say it again.
I think isn't it Malfal Daranel?
Yeah, I'm bad at that. And it was a beautiful city. It was Ogier built. It was the capital of one of the 10 nations, but it got destroyed by the Shadow Spawn. They built it for defense now. And it's a gnarly place. This is where Algamar is in charge.
All right, Brother Dan, let's bring him in. Jansen Lashley Haynes has finally arrived.
Jansen Lashley has finally arrived.
Hi, guys.
Hi, baby.
That LA traffic is horrible. Thank you so much for waiting, guys. I'm here.
You made it. No, you're here.
Glad that you're.
It's all that
I'm
matters.
glad you're here. I'm glad.
And it is my fault, Darnell. Beth is absolutely right.
I could not say it well.
I was a linguist in the military. That was my job.
Oh my God! Wow,
Well,
that's cool.
I was a linguist too. What were you a linguist for? Old tongue?
No, Korean, which is very similar to Old Tongue, actually.
I was about to say, I don't know one thing.
So,
I cheated. Mine was Espanol. I didn't have to learn that shit. I already knew it.
So, Jansen, we are on our first city, Faldara. We're just given the basics. Basically, it is a fortified fucking place, man.
Yeah, it is fortified, and we are at Lord Aglamar's residence, and we see a lot there, which I like. It's a great place to start. I do not think that the show is going to start there, obviously, when we come into the next season. I don't think we're going to be around anywhere there. Well, they weren't there for number 2. So I think that we're going to see more. What I meant to say was I think we're going to see more of Faldara in the show because they've already made the set.
Oh shit!
And anytime they do that in a show, they want to reuse those things.
Matt
look at
Staggers,
this.
You are the best. Fuck yeah, Jansen
Yeah.
or Andro or rewrite it.
All right, give us a wrap, Dan.
All right. Jansen for Andro. Go to a buffet until you're full. It's all you can eat. There's veggies and meat. Dessert. Ice cream galore.
Okay. Nice. Yes. All right.
Y'all, the Lord of Chaos is lurking somewhere in the back of this stream tonight. I don't know where the Lord of Chaos is, but they're definitely here.
It's because it's because
Something else
I
that's
think.
great about Faldara and Shinar is that it's a great place on the map to start from a place too.
Yeah.
It's right in the corner, up in the right, and they have a whole field of vision of everything to go anywhere from there. And the Great Hunt pretty much is a ton of traveling. And it's one of the last books that we get without a lot of people being able to travel with the One Power. So we get a lot of description of where we're going and the places we're seeing. And we get a lot of villages that are around that area at the beginning. And we get to learn a lot about the people that live in those villages because they're so different from the people that live in Faldara. We know that right now in Faldara, there are a lot of farmers just starting to leave because after what's happened in the Eye of the World, we know that the land is starting to come back. We know that we see a lot more greenery. We see that the Dark One's hold is not on the land again because Rand just and the Green Man just opened up some things to nature that started happening. Green things are growing again. And we do see that very soon the Dark One is going to to grab nature once again the other way.
You make a good point. It is on the edge of the Blight. The Blight is land that is affected by Shio Ghul. So you would think that as the Blight recedes, then we may have some green stuff. We have green that is growing again. But we think what was falafel Danandrel. It was described as Ogier built. It was beautiful. It wasn't blight ridden. It wasn't on the edge of a desert or whatever. It was described as being like one of the gem cities. So yeah, that's a very good point, Jansen.
And I like to think also that at the end of the Eye of the World, Rand had pretty much, if you want to call it, one power vitamin B shot.
Yeah.
From the Eye of the World. He got, all of that power got pushed into him, and he was a shining beacon and it was the first time we actually see Rand take on an army. And we get, and because of that, his Ta'veren nature, I believed, also, along with the Green Man, affected the world. And I think that that was an awesome thing to do because it brought all of these people, all of these warriors and fighters, and from Shinar who were fighting for their lives. It gave them a reprieve, and it gave them chance to step back and look at what was happening. So I know that we don't get a lot of description about what those soldiers were saying, but we do get that Lord Agamar himself saw Rand, and I believe what he says is, "What I saw, Moraine Sedai, was not right. What it can't be. It cannot be what I saw." So they saw a man channeling, who was obviously Rand, and they saw what he did to affect the earth, the land, and everything, because even Lord Agamar says, "I see things and the green things growing," and all those things.
And Massima became like evangelized at that moment, right?
Yeah. I guess you could say that. Massima, that's absolutely right. But he didn't get fully Massima, he didn't get fully crazy until after, the events.
Let me ask you guys: does anyone here know any history about Tarwin's Gap?
Ooh, nice call. That's that's definitely a area. We know that they've been fighting there for years, off and on. There's been a lot of different battles. That's the only place the Shadow can start, pretty much.
Right. Otherwise, the mountains are too high, or something, right?
Yeah. So that's the only place. But we also know that a lot of fortifications have been built there by humans, by men. And we also know that don't quote me on this because I'm not 100% sure. And I know that's the first time I've ever said that. But don't quote me on this. I believe that Tarwin's Gap might also be the entryway to where they have the place called I know that Shinar men, they go on campaigns to fight the Aiel in certain places along the Blight. And along the Threefold Land. And I'm not sure if that's where they start out as well. But I know they do have garrisons there. The Eastern Marches is what they call it, right?
Well, they have to have scouts out there to notice whether people or bad guys are coming towards the gap.
Yeah, but I know in one of the books they say that some of the soldiers spent time in the Eastern Marches, and I know Massima was one of them. That's why he disdains the look of Aiel. Right? Am I right about that?
It sounds familiar. Also, in the books Tarwin's Gap, it wasn't like on the show where it was a big wall across the gap. They had towers on either side of the gap.
Yeah.
And so they could, and really up high, so they could see pretty far.
Yes.
But yeah, it's basically the only traversable section that leads, not the only, because further south, I think there's more. But up here, that's one of the big gaps. That's why it's called Tarwin's Gap. It's where they come through.
Mm-hmm. And that leads right to Faldara, correct?
Yeah, Faldara is the last, or the first, I should say, in invasions. Faldara would be the first stop that they would have to make. Yeah.
Okay. With and that gap. Oh,
do we? And the Blight never touched Faldara. How did or what happened? How did the Blight not affect Faldara?
Well, the Blight was almost about to. Remember there were way gates and other things. It was approaching because it had already engulfed not Manetheren. It had already engulfed
Malkir.
Yeah. And some of what did she say? She said that there were 3 or 4 way gates already taken by the Blight. And I believe the most recent was the one in Malkir.
I've shared the map that I had on last week,
which was amazing, by the way.
I found it on Reddit. I don't know, but anyways, you can see the little leaves on the map if you look at it. that show where the steadings were in the waygates. And
Yeah.
there's the one right outside of Malkir is grayed out. Then there's the one that they closed outside of Faldara that is also marked out.
Yes.
But the ones at the steading, like steading Oichen and Sanshin, are still up. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't show anything up in the Blight where they would be. But yeah, they totally had overrun that stuff.
Okay. You're right. And you know what we haven't talked about? We haven't talked about a lot about the people in Faldara. You know, because there's a couple of like very distinct descriptions that they wrote in the books about these people over the, you know, the course of the chapters and each book. And that, you know, the kids, and they talk about children a lot. They have a lot of nicknames for them as far as urchins and, you know, the little ones, things like that, all through the book in lots of different cities and different towns and villages. And the children of Faldara were very different in terms of their quietness and their they weren't running around the city playing with balls, or they were very quiet and tugged to their parents because they knew what it was like to grow up there. They were very weary of strangers and of all kinds of things like that, and that always struck me as I guess you could say sad to be a child growing up in Faldara, because you knew what was in store for you. You knew that you were going to be a warrior. You knew that you were going to see friends, family, and loved ones die. And that was a way of life for these people. And along all the borderlands, it was like that.
Very militaristic, for sure.
Like
Yes.
historically and culturally, who do you think? Like, what kind of amalgamation of cultures do you think he had in mind?
Well, I think it was a mix between, you know, as far as, you know, using the real world as examples, I think it was a mix between Norse and Viking type people. And I almost want to say Genghis Khan type, you know,
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna say Mongol.
yeah,
I was gonna say
Mongolia.
Mongol because of the horseback riding or the horse riding and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, he did write descriptions, you know, and this is where the show and the books definitely change a lot of things, because he wrote a lot of descriptions about the Malkir, and these guys were I'd like to think, dark-haired, blue-eyed Nordic people, because that is the description you get of Lan. Lan is a very large man. He's as tall as Rand, pretty much. He looks Rand eye to eye. And
His face is carved from stone.
Carved from stone. He has
Hard
those
angles.
hard planes and angles.
Which it almost sounds like, you know, what they call the Black Scots or some Irish that are very, some Irish
True
have
Celtic.
super dark hair
Celtic.
and like piercing eyes. So,
And you know,
but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
saying this from a man who has had almost 50 years of staunch heterosexuality. Lan is probably
Go
a very
on.
good-looking man. Lan is probably a very good-looking man. He is very few men, with the exception of Galad, maybe even Valen Luca, in the books they describe as an imposing presence.
Yeah.
And Lan is one of the guys, one of the people, I'd say, in the Mount Rushmore of an imposing person.
Well, isn't
I'm sure everybody...
Damodred, isn't he a big guy?
Galad's not as big.
No, Damodred.
No, he's smaller.
I would say that of all of the Forsaken, Robin would probably be of that same caliber of
Of sexiness.
I didn't say it.
Lan is imposing.
Oh, wait, what is?
But, hold on.
Wait, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay,
I got confused.
No, you interrupt. Go ahead.
We're good at this. Wait, are we talking about what is challenging Jansen's heterosexuality, or what is more imposing, or are they the same? Because I've got a little confused for a second there. Sorry, Dan.
No, Lan's a great-looking guy. In fact, Lan is one of the only people who walks into a room and is noticed by men and women.
Yeah.
Everybody
Well,
notices
All right,
him.
but all right, I'll challenge that just a minute because although Nynaeve is into him, both Egwene and Nynaeve are like, or Egwene and Elaine are like, barf. I wouldn't be with this dude. He's too hard at angles and planes. I don't like the angles and planes.
Yeah, but then Elaine sees spits of, well, maybe he is good in bed. That comes up sometimes, and
you know who I think of to be my headcanon when they described Lan. The first person I thought of was Seal.
see, no, I think of the Undertaker.
Never gonna
But here-
survive.
No, the first person I thought of was Seal because Seal has very sharp features, right? He's got
He married
very
a supermodel.
sharp features, and that's what I. But and I was about to say, dude married Heidi Klum. You know, come on.
That's true. No, I mean, well, if you look at his resume, oh my God, he's dated
Yeah.
just about everybody from George Michael to all of his videos. So, but no, it's weird. This is and no one out there is going to think this. Ever since, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, just a gigantic one.
I like
Ever
Star Trek.
since I read the books, I always think of Lan as Worf. I don't know
I mean,
why.
the present. Well, I do know why because of his presence.
The presence, the honor system.
Yeah, and
No, I
there's
think it means
doubt-
that. No, I think it means that Jansen would fuck Orf as well. I think that's.
I mean,
I think that's what we're hearing.
compare Star Trek in my head canonically. Lan gives Riker vibes. I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, thank you very much.
Riker's too.
He's kind of more chilled and relaxed, but
He's
when
super
when
cool
push
and
comes
relaxed,
to
and he's way looser than Lane will ever be. I can definitely see Worf
Yeah,
more.
Jonathan
just the way he
Frakes
carries himself.
over Michael Dorn.
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't know. I just his sense of honor, like Worf.
Yeah.
I mean, Worf has
Sure,
that sense of
sure.
honor.
Sure.
Yeah, no, and I believe that Lan represents pretty much all of what Malkiri were like. And that's why I was getting to that, because we're going, Malkir is mentioned so many times that I wanted to give them an honorable mention, because I just don't, we never get a POV, which would have been really awesome to get one from Jane Farstrider / Noel.
Yeah.
Because he was a Malkiri. It would have been nice to get that, but we didn't get that. That might have been
Full
taken.
spoilers, right?
We're full
Yes.
spoiler. We're right, guys.
So Lan is my favorite character, for many reasons that the honor and all of that stuff, and I like how you compared Worf and Lan, and I was trying to get this in earlier, but I had to word it right. It's the presence, it's but there's also something attractive about a man that doesn't show like he can kick your ass, but he knows he can and will, and
But
he's gonna win. He is so self-assured in his own abilities, and that's just sexy as.
Yeah, I mean, there are only 3 men in all of Wheel of Time who radiated that kind of effect from other men and other people.
Yeah.
Rand, Lan, and weirdly enough, Chell Vannon.
Yes. No, you're
The horse thing?
Yeah.
Nobody wanted a piece of either 3 of those when they walked into a room. Chell Vannon liked it, he liked it that way. But
Not Gareth Bryn?
No, nobody. Not the vibe that those guys left.
No.
I guess if you get big enough, stealing a horse and riding it away is easier because your butt is just kind of holds on to the saddle.
Yeah, but they
just naturally.
Aside from he sat the saddle like a sack of sweat or a bag of sweat, right?
Yeah.
They also
That is a direct quote.
They
from
also
That's a direct quote. Yep.
Yeah. They also said when you looked at him, you just knew that nobody knew horses or anything that he was good at better than that man just by looking at him.
Would you say he had more charisma than Tam Althor?
Different kind of charisma.
Different kind.
Tam Althor had charisma where he,
No, the ladies
had
love
presence
Tam,
he
but not
spoke.
the Dan. There's no direct evidence of the men sipping after Tam.
Oh, you don't think that Abel Cawthon really wanted to get Tam drunk and
Oh my!
Showing
God,
what his
yeah.
apple
Like
to
No.
the apple orchard gone yonder?
do. Do you think he wanted to show him what his apple to do, Dan?
I mean,
Yes.
when they went into hiding, they were together.
Yes, they were.
And they
their
traveled
boat.
to Tarvalon together, and I think they slept in barns and shit together.
That would be such a great fucking like side story if we actually got that.
yeah.
But the real side story would be him telling Abel, "I think our sons are Treveran."
Yeah. And that's how he gets him to like go.
Right. Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's like, hey, our sons are
No.
probably they're with this weird Aes Sedai. We should probably check on them. They're
No,
not
he
dead.
he
They're
had to
boys.
convince Abel. Abel was like, "Fuck Matt," but but Tam's like, "Dude, he's Taveran," and then he was like, "Oh man, maybe."
What kind of guy Abel
Okay.
actually was. Remember, they don't talk about it much, but they do say
Yeah.
right out of Matt's mouth. The only time his dad didn't win was when Tam won.
Yep.
Remember in the
Oh, with the
yeah.
bow, yeah.
With the quarterstaff.
Abel was a pretty proficient player.
Because he's Tam Baron.
Yes, and also remember in the last battle when
you.
Tam was shooting, the only one he missed was one that Abel got.
Oh
He
shit.
says
Okay.
All right, we've hit one city. Let's move away from I
All right.
sidetracked.
What's the next city?
We hit one city.
Chronologically, Jansen, can you remember what's next? Is it the Portal Stone world?
No, well, after that we come across a couple of villages before we cross the Aranon, I believe, because they have to cross it, and that's where Uno sees Lanfear in the windows for the first time. Remember,
You got this?
Are these them? Mallard's Hill and Oakwater? 'Cause
Mallard's
they're right
Hill.
below that.
Mallard's Hill is not it. Mallard's Hill is near Tarvalon, isn't it? Don't we see?
No, well, according to this, the map's right over here. Tarvalon's way the heck down here.
Okay.
Now,
Because we see
again,
Mallard's Hill. Don't we see Mallard's Hill in the prologue of Memory of Light?
It says it's a minor hill between Reynold Fonwar's farm
Well, no.
and Oakwater.
Yes, Renault named it. He also renamed Mallard's Road.
Right. That's all there is. That's all there is about it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's
Unimportant.
near. So yeah. So I know that doesn't say whether it was close to Tarvalon. It is on the way to the north. We know
right,
that.
it makes sense
Oakwater.
because Carwin's Gap's north of it. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that could be that village, but we know that we saw one there because we saw the village where the Murdral, Pat and Fane nailed it alive to the doorway.
Was that wasn't Anchor Dale, was it?
Angkor Dal. Was that Angkor
Angkor
Dal?
Dal was the same city that we were talking about before, where Massima had served, fighting
Yeah.
against the IEO.
Oh, and they would probably fought down here in the Neum passes or whatever.
Where? Oh yeah, Neve. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, we're on our way into the unseen world or the mirrored world in the portal.
Which is
stone.
right there.
Yes, and it definitely deserves an honorable mention, even though this world was a very light world, really wasn't going to come true. This world is where the Trollocs won. This is where everything was fuzzed out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't understand. I still would love to know what those skywriting planes were in the sky, but they don't really talk much about that.
Is this where the scene repeats and repeats? It has the flies and stuff.
Yes.
Yes, that was right
Yes.
before that. Yes,
Okay.
and that was Flicker, right?
No, that was not a flicker.
Oh, that's
No,
not
but it was. He walked into the room, and then he was walked into the house, and it was abandoned, and there was like food on the table, and then there were flies, and he walked in, and he kept seeing their demise over and over and over again.
He had his own flicker, like
the woman cuts the turkey with a smile on her face, giving her kids giving the family food. Yes.
So basically, it was the scene that we got for Perrin on the show.
Yes, which I actually thought worked really well.
Yeah,
I like that.
To show what he kind of sensed. Yeah,
because in the books, Elias was not there, and they used Elias and that scene to help because Elias saw what Perrin saw.
Yeah, and I like the way they mixed it with what we talked about. I don't think it was you guys. They were talking about it on the other show, but about sniffers.
There's other shows.
There's another one.
Weird.
They were talking about sniffers and the fact that here is it Huron? No,
Huron, yep.
Huron. He smelled violence. It was different.
That was his power,
and basically that's what they showed on the TV show was Perrin. It was different. He wasn't smelling it, but he was sensing the violence and seeing the violence.
Right.
And
because every time he had a vision, it was at a place of violence.
Yes. And I've heard, I don't know how true this is, I've heard a little rumor that next season Perrin starts to smell stuff.
Well, I mean,
that makes sense.
They've taken his arc so slowly with the wolf fight, and then he heard the Tinkers before they showed up.
Yeah.
And so little by little they've been adding stuff, and to me it always looked like the old black and white Wolfman. And then they showed from season 2 a clip that I actually put a thing together next to each other, and it could have been the same makeup. Close. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've taken his arc super slow.
Super slow. But, his arc in the books was a little slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
sorry.
Okay, Mistress Doyle. Thank you. Might as well start calling her Mistress Perrin. No, just kidding.
All right.
All right. So Portal World is where we were, right?
World. Yes, that's where we were. And we give it an honorable mention because the next major city that we get after the Portal World.
Oh, that's an awesome one. Where the guy kneeling there? I like that, Ryan.
That's great. That looks nice.
That's a good one.
We can all thank Case and I said I for today's graphics.
Well done, Kay.
We love her.
Thank you, Kay. And so the next major city, and this is where we start the show starts moving faster, is Carrion.
Yeah.
Which is a great city for some and not so great for others. And we get a ton of information in Carrion. Now, this time, right now in the books, Carrion is different than it's going to be later. Carrion changes a lot over the course of this series. And now,
Jensen, hold on. Can you say that city name and then say My Wayward Son?
Carry On, My Wayward Son.
Okay.
That's by Kansas, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
Great song, actually.
So, all right, let's talk about pronunciations. In the book, it does say Kyrian.
That's how I pronounce it, is Kyrian.
I pronounce it differently every time.
But when I was reading it, I called it Carhane until I read Carhane. Yeah, or Carhane.
Yeah. And we get a lot
Carrion,
of
like that
through people like Loyal and other people. I believe Carrion is called what? Hill of the Golden Dawn, or something like that. Something Hill of the Golden Dawn, or I know that's actually a name of a chapter. Actually, in I believe that's chapter 3 or 4 of Lord of Chaos. No, the next one, Crown of Swords.
All right, look it up. Everyone, look it up. I'm looking it up
right now.
Hill of the Golden Dawn. It's either 3 or 4. I know the first one is. Chapter 1 is, I believe.
Yes, A Crown of Swords, Chapter 3. Crown of Swords, chapter 3! Chapter, God damn you, Jansen! God damn! I love you so much!
Why don't you just add yourself to that list of men who enter a room and everyone turns?
Yeah. You are land.
I think his hat's on too tight
Jansen.
tonight.
All right, so I just want to read this passage from Mike Livingston's book, and it'll help frame the conversation. So he says, Carhian, from its fashions and its Carhian, from its fashions, Kyrian, from its fashions. Hey, we can't be a pronunciation like lords.
That's us.
We just let's let it go. From its fashions and its architecture to its devotion to the political machinations of the Game of Houses, the country of Carhian and its Sun Throne strongly reflect the kingdom of France during the rule of the so-called Sun King Louis the 14th.
Yes.
The name might have been taken from Querin, a small commune in Brittany, but more likely it's Jordan's attempt to create a word that would have a French feel while also fitting the feel of the other materials he was using to construct the Wheel of Time. All right, so French.
And here's
so
one of the
weird.
reasons why I love this series that we're doing right now, because we're going to come back to Carrion, and it's going to be very different from what we're talking about now.
Yep.
Because if you go into Carrion right now in the books as chronologically or in the Great Hunt, we see illuminators. We see tons of people like having a great time outside because the king is so bad that the only thing that he can do to keep the current situation of Carrion and the people's, lives or the people happy is by throwing parties all the time and things like that. And it brings back to mind when you hear about the history of Rome, where they always had the gladiators and everything to make people happy. And even though the city was going to shit, everyone wanted to see the games.
Yep.
Everyone wanted to see like these things going on. And while the city was going to shit around them, and it only took one spark for Carrion for that to happen. And that spark just happened to be Randall Thorpe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to Waterholic Ozzy saying, but with samurai haircuts, and that's the beauty of this city is because it has this very French thing with this Japanese kind of stoicness that is just so contrary, And they it's
remember that hairdo is only taken by soldiers right now in the books.
Yep.
Later on, after Coladin comes, the nobles start looking that way as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, let me just pull this up. This, Ryan, if you could, this is how the pronunciation is supposed to be. And how the fuck? What is that?
Well, I see Kai. Is that upside down R?
An upside down R? Oh, shit.
Kaji?
All right, hold on.
Man, that could have been dangerous in your screensaver.
Kaijin?
Is that it?
That says Kaijin.
Kaijin.
No, that's
But think
That's
French.
upside down R.
Everyone, you get all French.
Kaijin.
Cayenne.
All right.
Cayenne.
That is not helpful. Thank you. Not at all. Kyrian.
Hill of the Golden Dawn. And
oh my God.
Chapter 3.
so we go there, and we go to Carrion, and remember, we see a lot of different things, and we see it change dramatically while we're reading, actually, through Carrion. Rand and Huron and Loyal spend a good amount of time there gathering information, meeting Tom Maryland again, he is being introduced into the series, and which is great. And then they show Rand, which they also did this in the show. They show Rand going to different homes, going to manors, going to things like that. And Barthanas' manor is very different in the books than it is in the show. In fact, his mom is more of a focal point and we didn't even have her in the books. So their manor is a focal point. What I do wonder is this. So in the books, that manor that they were in turns into Rand's first royal library.
Yeah.
Right.
That's another big change that's going to happen in Carrion. And I don't know if they're going to actually do that. It would be nice to see that. It would be a great little, throwback, especially to book readers and book fans, to see that happening. It's something I'm not sure they're going to have, because that whole thing about, Rand's schools and all those things might not make the budget, but it'd be nice to see that. It'd be nice to see that, because
I would like to see it in there. I think they might, only because some of the inventions that are created at this school are used later on. So they have, I would think they'd at least mention it or something throughout the series or during the series at some point.
Yeah, because we do get a great number of inventors from Carrion. That's something else that they don't really talk about. Carrion people have a really good mind for inventing things.
Yep.
Ken Torvier, who supplied everyone with telescopes in different ways. They were gifts. We have a POV from Matt saying Ken Torvier loved the dice. So that's how he got one. But we also get a POV from Davram Bashir, who got a gift from him as well. So we do have, we have him. We have the mistress of the library who invented the spear weapon that killed some of the Shido.
The big giant catapult things.
Yeah.
I was about to mention those because nobody had those.
Yeah, nobody had those. And then we have the trains and tanks. The what do they call them? They call them steam wagons.
Yeah,
that we have that come out of there. That Rand saw saw the beginning of and saw the finished product, which gave him the realization that him opening this school was a great idea, because the cart did move.
And then didn't we got cannons? But I believe that was Matt.
That was Matt.
That was a Matt thing.
Yes, that was Matt.
That was not Matt. That was Aludra. Thank you very
It
much.
was Matt.
Hey, she would have never turned him on their side like Matt did.
I'm just saying.
I'm kidding.
No, that was Aludra. You're absolutely
Aludra.
right. You're right. It was Aludra.
Let's give a little history to Kyrian based on the story. So Kyrian had was one of the only countries that had a peace pact with the Aiel. When the Aiel had a caravan of some of the Aiel or the Aes Sedai stuff they had to protect, Kyrian gave them shade and water, and so they had a pass. Yeah, go ahead.
We found that out 500 years ago. Finally, who the Aiel figured that out, who they were, and they call it the sharing of water. Which is a very, very, very important part of this series, because the sharing of water by the Carrions is the first time. It's when all of the wise women and all of the clan chiefs get the same thing from when they go and find out about their history.
Right.
That's where they get everything. They all get that. That is what everyone gets.
But this relationship did carry forth to the appreciation from the Aiel was the gifting of Avendoradera. It's a cutting of Avendosora.
Yep.
And they also had rite of passage through the Waste. This was the only country that could pretty much trade with Shara.
Right.
So they call it the Silk Path.
The Silk Path, correct. Yes. And then Layman's Pride happened, y'all. What do we think happened with Layman's Pride? Just on
he needed a new chair.
Well, no, they do mention this. I was just talking to someone about this a week ago. They mentioned what brought him into doing this, and I actually believe it had something to do with what's her name, Red Aja, who led the Reds to the Black Tower. No. What was her name?
Tovanne?
No.
Tovanne Gazelle. That was her name.
Okay. What was the other one? Galena was the one that took Rand.
Galena was the one that took Rand. Tovanne Gazelle. Now, remember, Tovanne and a few others were put in...
Tovanne.
They were in not seclusion. What were they put in? They were punished. They were for 20 years. They were punished. They were in. Tovanne had to work seclusion or whatever. They were, and not only was she involved in that, Elida was also involved in that and somehow found a way to skate away from it.
Yeah.
It's in Tovine's POV that she's pissed off, about that. And she even says Elida skated her way away from it and skated her way to the Amyrlin seat, something that Tovine always coveted herself as well. Okay. And we get a lot. I would love, and I hope in the prequel that they're actually doing right now, they're doing an animated prequel of The Wheel of Time.
Nice.
And I would love to think that all of those things must have a lot to do, because you can play with it so much and get so much out of those things. And Tovine and Elida and all the other, things that happened. And this happened right around the time Rand was being born. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things going on then. And I have to believe that was the Pattern's way of getting a lot of the Reds out of the way.
Oh, interesting.
The
Pattern. That's funny. The Pattern would just like, based on almost political affiliation, just discriminate.
Well, it did a lot of things to hide Rand, as far as marriage, having all of those babies and all those things to match where Rand was going to be. So I think the Pattern was working overtime to, make sure that Rand was going to make it, and taking Reds out of the picture, is a really good way to do that.
By the way, let's just give love to our friend Kev.
Yeah.
Power to the people.
God, I hope you're wearing sweats and you haven't left the house yet.
Yeah, we got some love from chat. Congrats. Yeah, fuck yeah.
Good job, 2, 3, 4.
I can get you a job if you want to make a little extra cash.
Hey, that sounds dirty.
Hey.
I can see Kev. I can see Kev with like a Pretty Woman skirt on Hollywood Boulevard.
Unless it's remote work, I can't do it, man.
Kev is handsome. He would be high. Kev, you high digit hooker, you. I love you. Good luck. I love it so much.
Love that.
That was so good.
So, Arian, where are we going to next, guys? Because we are, we've got what happens chronologically.
Real fast. So, with Kyrian, we should mention that the destruction of Layman of Vendasalara, whatever, fucking started the Io War. Tam Althor, who is in Tyr, which borders Kyrian, would not have been there if it was not for this event.
Hence, not in Tyr, he was
an alien. That's right. That's fine. Yeah,
he was a 9 Beezers.
And so this whole thing set our whole story in motion, I guess, to say. And Moraine is from there, and the whole Darius Demai, which. Bleh.
Yes.
All right.
Do you think there was a separate Ta'Veren in action when Rand was born?
No, I think that
before Rand was born.
I mean, I believe that Rand's Ta'Veren nature started to die at the second he was conceived.
In utero, yep. In utero.
It's a great album. Yeah. So, so now, Brother Dan famously called me out on Twitter saying that I sidetrack and derail the show, and I'm going to just continue to do that. Because I just got to be me.
You read that, huh?
But Jansen last episode brought up how Tam Althor. No. Lan was. No, damn it! Who is the theory? Who is who?
That Tam. Go ahead, Jansen.
King Aemon Althorin from Manetheren is a distant relative of Tam Althor.
Okay, now and then
Discord, I created something for you, Jansen.
Oh, on Discord?
Yeah.
On Twitter. Yeah, it was awesome.
All right, so let me get it. Jay. So that kind of like solidified some thoughts I've had about like the nature of this entire universe Robert Jordan created. I'm starting to believe now that not only is the Pattern controlling events to a great extent that everything we've ever even heard about in the history of time has been to coalesce in the moment that Rand has at the end of the books. So, to that effect, like everything that you discovered about how the Two Rivers folks were they're bound to the earth.
Yeah.
Right when Eldrine did that amazing magical event, killed all the Trollocs, the blood seeped into the soil, all of that stuff was necessary to create epigenetically necessary to create the perfect situation. So we're talking about past ages. Maybe even since the beginning of time, the pattern has been crafting and trying to get it right each year, trying to get it right each turning of the wheel, and has been slowly playing like the long game to get Rand to where he was at the end of the books.
Yes.
Thoughts?
Okay.
Well, I think it's true to a lot of it, and there's so much argument for it because we see and read about things that happened in the books between thousands of years of each other. And in little snippets of those thousands of years, and I always go back to, The Road to the Spear, which is my favorite chapter, and it's because of the so much information in it, where we hear them talking about Rand and when he's going to come later. We hear about all those things in different, by tons and tons of different people. And I believe that it's the circularity like Robert Jordan talked about. So things are going to happen again. Yep. And the pattern is trying to get it right, which I think that it never will until everybody gets the chance to love again. But I don't know. I think that you're right that the pattern is doing that, but I don't necessarily think that the wheel is behind it. I think the creator is actually using the loom himself.
Yeah. I mean, I agree that we talked about last week that the Mountains of Mist, right? Aptly named because after Manetheren fell and the wars went away and all that stuff, it became the armpit of the world that nobody really went to, which was the exact place, like Jansen said, that Rand needed to be.
Yep.
Right? And for that to happen, Tam had to be on Dragon Mountain. Right?
Yep.
Had to be on Dragon Mountain. Everything. So yeah, it'd been happening over and over. And it was just every turning of the wheel, it's like a different chess match. And you're moving the pieces. All right, well, last time, attack from over here, so I'm going to move my forces this. And you're just playing, you're moving your pawns around, right? And your bishops and your knights. And yeah, I basically, yes, to answer your question, the pattern, the creator, whoever, has been manipulating things for a very long time. Or at least playing a game for a very long time.
Now, my contention is that especially for Ta'Veren. So I'm starting to get this notion that there's I think Robert Jordan kind of has this notion of power being centralized and the effect of power spreads out like a sonogram, right? You can almost see the circles dissipating as you get further away from the power source. So, and you see that through how the magic works. And you see that even how the Dark One has limitations. You have to call him, and all of a sudden he'll be like, "Oh, you, anyone call me?" And then all of a sudden he's there. So I do believe though that Ta'Veren are living a predetermined life where they have no choices, and people who are close to them are in effect in that sonogram, in that circle of effect. And they are also not able to make full choices because of this pull. And then, but I do believe though that people miles away, just talking to their loved one over dinner, are not being that conversation's fine. They're having their conversation. That's not predetermined. But I do believe that the pattern is controlling us. Or the Ta'Veren. I'm Ta'Veren. Sorry, I've always thought I was, but yeah, I think Ta'Veren is so that's how I am perceiving things.
Okay, I think you're right, and believe me, I almost don't want to say this because I know I'm about to get some serious hate mail
Uh-huh.
because of what you're saying.
Not
I
frivolous, fun hate mail?
I think there's something that the show got right that the book got wrong.
Oh.
Ooh.
Wait. Tavarin, we can't hear you. We
I
lost
may
your...
not be arguing with you as much as you think. Continue.
So
Let's
here's
see
the
where we're
thing.
at.
We're talking about, how the pattern does this, right? With Taviran. Now, we have 3 Taviran on the books. Matt, Rand, and Piran.
Right.
Now, this is a book in a series where everything has an opposite or an equal.
Yep.
Right down the middle. Now, I honestly believe that if that's the case, there were 3 Taviran women. And here's where everybody's going to hate me. Yes, Egwene was one of them. Yes, Elaine is one of them, but Nynaeve is not.
Who's the third?
No, in the books.
Oh, in the books. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Third
Yep.
Taviran woman is Tuon. Because out of all 6 of them, they all had armies to face the Dark One. Nynaeve is the only one who did.
Well, that would make sense why she made such a shitty decision. It was like, sorry, like
She's
she
a
wanted
healer.
to make the right choice, but Tavarin's like,
Matt, Rand, Piran, Egwene, Elaine, Tuon, all gathered armies and added to them to fight the Dark One.
I mean, Nynaeve did too, though.
No,
I would
she
say
didn't.
Fael.
Yeah,
Well,
she got the Borderlanders to join.
Fael brought.
No, I understand that, but then they added. Yeah, I get
I
that.
mean, she single-handedly went around and like recruited people, like
Yeah,
the
she's
army.
like, "Do you ride? Does my husband ride alone?" They're like,
She was at high school campuses with a booth, and she was like, "Are you?"
She was at job fairs, right?
Sorry, go on, Jensen.
The 6 largest armies in the last battle. The 6 largest armies for the Light in the last battle.
No, I'm not
One
arguing
was
it.
the Wolf Guard.
Yeah.
One was the Legion of the Dragon. One was the Band of the Red Hand.
Right.
One was Elaine's, Carrion, and
Doran.
Andor together.
Yeah.
One was the White Towers people led by Gareth Bryn.
Yep.
And the other was the Seanchan. Seanchan even added people by getting the people from Terabon. They all amassed armies and made them bigger.
I'm not mad about it. Actually, I'm not. It makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
I love these talks, and I think these should be their own separate show.
Yeah, you're right.
This is so great, but we've gotten through 2 cities.
Yes.
All right, no, we're saying this is the way.
Now we're leaving. Now
This is your way.
The next city is Stedding Sofu.
Stedding Sofu.
Ooh, I don't have that.
Oh no, sorry. We got. I made
got it.
stir fried Sofu just the
Bring
other
up the
day.
map. It's on
Yeah.
there.
The next,
All right,
that's where they have to go. They are in North Allen's manor, and they have used Heron and Matt to locate where the Dark Friends who stole the horn went. They went into a room that had a waygate, and when they tried to go into the waygate, the Black Wind was waiting there, saying, "All Thor, all Thor, all Thor," waiting
Right.
for him because Pat and Fane had mingled with the Black Wind. The Black Wind understood him.
Well,
Watching-
let's talk about Steddings for a minute, and I want to get Beth in here because I've missed your pretty voice. that
You guys have been a
sounded
little
creepy.
all over the place tonight. I'm
Yeah.
just letting
Yeah,
you
no, I dig it.
I heard
Lay
loud and
it
clear.
out.
She yelled at me.
Where do you think Stedding? What were the origins in your mind of Steddings? Can an Ogier tribe make a new Stedding if they want to? I mean, what's going on with Steddings? Let me know what you think.
Well, we know that the Ogier aren't originally of this world, right? They're from a different plane of existence. So I think
Which is his own thing. Yeah.
Right. So I think the Stedding is probably like pockets of what's left of that
Ooh.
transplanter because when you enter the steading, you lose the ability to channel.
Right.
So it's like a pocket, and you also have a sense of peace that overtakes you. It's not even the abandoned steading are still retain that same sense. So it's not the Ogier that do it. It's something that's tied to.
It's
Well,
not
did
the-
they-
It's
Did
like
the
an opposite ley line.
She's
Right.
right. She's
Right.
right.
So the original Ogier did not build these or something?
Or if they did build them, if they had when they first came to this world from their original plane of existence, that way was lost long ago. There's a lot of things that are older than the oldest things that we know about in the Wheel of Time, right? So,
how dare you, DK Moon? How dare you?
but I just think I do think that it's remnants of I believe the world that they originally came from, or the dimension that they originally came from. Just like the snakes and foxes have the Ilfin, and Ilfin have their own plane of existence. It's similar to the Ogier, and so the Ogier probably have the place that they're from where they can get back to with the Book of Translation is similar to what you see or experience in the steading.
Go ahead, Tavern.
The thing that amazes me is that Steading Sofu is real close to a portal stone. And
They're
portal
all
stones
real
lead-
close, aren't they?
No.
Oh,
Okay. We know the portal stones goes to different places, right? It could be different planes of existence. It could be a mirror world. It could be a number of different things. And we know that there are symbols all over these portal stones that a book of translation would probably be really helpful with. So the connection, because I mean, you've got the Tower of Genji, you've got the Doorframe Terangrials. They all take you to other places. So we know that there's a futuristic side to Randland.
So so now, do you think these places are like places this is gonna get weird, like every place you could go to in a portal stone, is that a place that you could just fly to, like a planet that you could just fly to that's currently happening?
Well, no, because the portal stones are gateways to to parallel worlds. They're not.
Yeah.
They're
They
parallels of our existence.
But also I
they go other places.
It's reality. It's not location, I think.
but they have a location. And no, but also I thought Ogiers were aliens.
They are.
They kind of
but
are.
like, so
They're from
aliens-
a different plane of existence. Not
Yeah.
necessarily like.
See, I always thought, plane
The
of
way I
existence.
see the Ogier is kind of like ET, and the Book of Translation is like the phone home, right? Right?
Or the
And they use a speak and spell.
Yeah.
That-
Cow goes
Uh,
moo.
but they're all botanists. I think that
Oh,
ET could probably sing wood if he tried. We just don't know.
That'd be amazing. Anyways, all right.
But steadings, when the breaking of the world happened, the steadings moved around, and this seems to have isolated or made the Ogier a bit more insular, because they didn't have ready access to steadings around, because they didn't necessarily know where they were.
All right, the longing. Yeah.
Actually, this is the
long something.
dude. Okay, two things. Nova Garden. The companion says that setting has special properties, including the inability of a channeler to use one power. So by saying including that, what are the other special properties that a setting has? There are, I guess.
The calming feeling. That's
Well,
one.
actually, no, because there was almost a fight until the Ogier stepped in and said, "Remember the pact," and they're like, "I'm sorry." So it's not tranquility; it's respect. So I don't think that this inhibits violence at all. I think they would have totally gone down. Yeah,
Didn't it affect Perrin too?
All right.
Yeah, in a good way, actually. Piran felt like, energized and.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's like a. I always pick the setting to be just a perfectly preserved natural habitat. Like, fresh air. You don't have. There's like a barrier around it.
Yeah, and it's also different for Ogier than humans. One of its greatest properties is it keeps Ogier alive.
Yeah.
It holds the longing at bay.
I think that's another thing that would tie to my theory.
Absolutely.
Is that the longer they're away, the more difficult it is for them to sustain themselves outside of their natural, quote unquote, natural habitat.
Yes.
Let me ask you, Beth.
Although
what
the Seanchan Ogier never experienced.
That's what I was going to ask.
That all about?
So I don't really have.
Yes, but we know why though.
Why?
Because I don't think the Seanchan Ogier ever had to leave the steading in the breaking of the world. The breaking of the world brought the longing. The longing they didn't have it before the breaking.
So their steading are still there.
Yes.
They know where they are and
never
had to struggle with that.
Yes.
Do we know that for a fact, Jansen, that the Ogier never had longing before the breaking?
Yes, we know that for a fact.
That's a canonical fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird.
Yeah, it was the longing. And remember, again, my favorite chapter in The Road to the Spear, they come across the Ogier and they actually start talking about how they're getting something's happening to them. And they talk about, I feel a longing about me. I don't know. I feel like if I don't get to a steading soon, we're going to die. And that is what they were talking about.
Oh, gosh. I just came up with a theory, though. So we know that the male Aes Sedai created the ways for them. We know that the male Aes Sedai were at the steading after the breaking. And as the male Aes Sedai have dissipated, the longing has increased. I wonder if Saidin has something to do with it.
Well, also the ways, as you said, were created by the male Aes Sedai, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mash and Shin is just a remnant, I think, of all of their thoughts that were put into it that went insane the moment they went insane. Is my theory.
Oh, wow. That's like a physical manifestation of crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. But it will kill you. It'll
all right.
eat your bones.
Yeah. I'm loving Michelle Sedai right now. She says, she's kind of on my wavelength. They're stargates. The portal stones work like stargates.
Yes.
And for me, that makes a lot of sense because how do you make that initial connection? We kind of imagine that one of the turnings wheel, like either we got so advanced we were able to like go out there and communicate with other alien life forms, and then we make a physical connection, make the agreements, make the gateways, and then they go home. And it seems like maybe something happened where, like, in that exchange with the Ogier, they fucking lost their book because we're too happy, I guess, and like right, and so they're kind of stuck here. But each one of these portal stones for the different worlds, like I believe, especially with the Aelfinn and the Eilfin and the Ogier, I believe they're alien worlds that we could either fly to or zip through in the portal stone. That's
I was going to say, clearly you could reach them immediately because look at the Tower of Genji and look at the doorframe Tarangrals, right? So that
it would have been rad if we saw a random Ogier or two in the tower. Oh, fuck.
That'd be cool.
That would have been awesome. All right, go on. Sorry.
But I mean, that just leads me to believe that at some point in one of, in the past, right, in one of the turnings or whatnot, we had first contact. No joke.
Yeah.
We had to have had first contact of some sort.
That's I believe. Yeah.
And then these are just the remnants.
You forget about one thing. First contact was not with the Ogier, though. They were with the Eilfin and the Elfin.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the Ogier themselves. I'm saying just all of these entities, alien entities, what we see and how we can interact with them is what basically didn't get destroyed with the breaking of the world. Just like the stasis boxes and all of that stuff, right? Stuff that still remained, still had power, was still
Did
working.
Loyal ever mention the tower?
What?
The Tower of Genji? Did we know? I don't remember. Did he ever mention anything about it?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Doman, I think, mentioned it to
Dale
Matt.
mentioned it to Matt, Tom, and Rand on the boat.
Right.
What's it called? The flight down the air now?
Right.
I believe that's the name of the
What chapter? What chapter?
It's after Listen to the Wind, and it's after Shadows Waiting, so what is it?
12?
No. It's like 20s, in the 20s, like 22, 23, something like that. But yeah.
But it is a
That's
structure
crazy
that
to me
everyone
that you know all
sees. I mean, think about this. This is a structure that everyone sees if they're on the river, and yet they know that it's some funky, weird-ass thing that no one understands.
Right. Well, it's the same thing about White Bridge.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah,
It's a
there-
funky
there's
ass thing
yeah.
that
But
nobody
it's a
understands.
bridge. Yeah, but it's a bridge. I mean,
And that's
so
a
you
tower.
can use it. It's a weird but yeah, a tower indicates a bridge is functional. A tower is functional. You use the bridge. You can't use the tower. The tower is like you can't even get in. It's weird.
No,
It's-
I thought the Tower of Genji, even though they call it, I always thought it was more like an obelisk, sort of like the Washington Monument or something.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
and then all we really get is Bail Doman, bringing it up, and then later on in the books where when Perrin, if I'm not mistaken, chases what's his face,
Slayer.
Slayer there,
Yeah.
and then
here's
of course
another-
with Matt and Tom and Noel and that whole thing.
We would have straight out tours of people saying, now feel the surface of this. It's completely smooth. This has been this way for thousands of years. No, go ahead. Your handprint won't mess with it. It's awesome. We
and
don't
then
know
somebody
what it's
yelling,
for.
"You can't sell
So
water
this-
here, kids."
To this day, it's a mystery.
So, weirdly enough, we don't. I believe in the Great Hunt, this book, we have the least amount of cities that we go to in villages.
Yeah.
And because the next one, we find ourselves all the way in Falma.
Yep. So we go we go from the one portal outside of Sofu,
And then we pass through Flicker and we go to Falma.
yeah, all the way to Falma.
Nice game.
There it is.
Yeah, and Falma, and I like that map view. The Falma we get, or I guess Tomenhead and Falma in the show is very desert Mediterranean.
Yeah, I also get the Wild Wild West feel when I think about Falma. I don't see, I know that you hear that there are authoritative figures, that there are, people kind of like the police from, whatever royalty is there, but they don't care as much. There's a lot more, you have to be more wary of crime and things like that out there. It's more Wild West. It's more, spread out. There's a lot more villages, and you get that, proof of that when a garrison of White Cloaks can go wherever they want and basically do and say whatever they want.
Yeah, they're posses. They're just riding around doing whatever the hell they want. Yep.
Whatever they want, and they're killing children, and they're doing all kinds of, I like to think of the White Cloaks as a derivative of Shadow Logoth. People who are following the light only in name, who are doing so many things against the light in the name of the light.
Oh,
And-
nice, Jansen. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and they go out and they start to, inhabit Falma and Almoth Plain, in one of Pedro Niles' little, schemes to get more power. Yeah, to get more power. And we see when we come to Falma, we see a land that's in turmoil. We see them under the Shanshan rule, under White Cloaks, under, the people must have been, terrified of that place. And there's a reason for that, because we see in the very next book how many refugees are created because of all these things that are happening.
Yeah.
And what do you call the people of Falm? Are they the Falmanians?
People of Almoth Plain.
Yeah. They all fall under the Almoth Plain. And the thing about the White Cloaks being in Almoth, in Eridaman and the Almoth Plain or whatever, especially in the Almoth Plain, is they're just there causing a damn ruckus, right? They know that there's turmoil happening, and they're just snatching up land and people, like you said, in a power play, right? Because nobody else will allow them to do it. They just won't let them set up shop anywhere. So they're over here going, oh, we can get a whole, and then we can run this place. Unfortunately for them, like Jensen said, there were other people vying for the same area. But yeah,
we also have something else over on Almoth Plain, which I really love, and they talk about this multiple times in the books. There is a really awesome museum there. An awesome natural history museum, actually.
Right.
Is that the Mercedes-Benz sign?
And a big dinosaur.
I actually believe,
A
now they never
giraffe,
talked about
actually.
any of this, I actually think that museum is one of the only full completed structures left over from the Age of Legends. Because the Age of Legends is supposed to be the time we're living in.
yeah.
And I believe that the time we're living in, they had dinosaur bones and all those things. Well, they do. And I believe that is one of the things that was saved. And there's a lot of evidence to that with how many Terangriel and Angriel and Sagriel we find.
Are you talking about
in the museum.
Falma, or are you talking about Tenchico?
Oh, is that Tanchico?
Yeah, it's the Panax. Yeah, because it's the Panax Palace.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry.
Falma's pretty interesting, and I was doing a little research. They have this connection with the Shanchen. So they had this community that were called the Watchers of the Waves.
Yes.
And they were looking for Arthur Hawkwing's army to return. And guess what? They fucking did and got punished because, quote,
they didn't
accused of watching for the wrong thing and forgetting what they should have been remembering.
Yes.
The first watcher was placed in a cage, hung from one of the towers, and left to die. When the first watcher died, another was named and placed in the cage.
Yep.
Fuck.
No, it was rough.
That's the worst promotion ever.
Yeah, technically, the tower that we see on the show was where they were supposed to be watching the waves from.
Yes, that's true. And we also know one other huge thing about Falma, and this is probably the biggest thing about Falma, that it has its place in the Corinthian cycle, because that's where it says that the dragon is going to be seen in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
In flames bannered across the sky, correct?
Yeah.
Now, I like the way that they did it in the book better than they did it in the show.
Much better.
Same.
Yeah, they've gotten away from a few things that I really wanted to see, right?
Yeah, I wanted to see them fighling in the sky.
I wanted to see the fight in the sky. I wanted to see it at Tarwin's Gap, Rand taking the steps and, all of that stuff I wanted to see. And once I saw that we didn't get that at Tarwin's Gap, that they went with the Battle of Wills, I was like, we're not getting the fight in the sky.
No, it would have cost way too much.
Yeah.
I actually think it might. The thing is, they could have done it cheaply, but it would have looked really bad.
Here's the thing, though. They could have gotten away with it, though, because I was thinking, I said, how could you do this without it looking, really horrible, right? Well, we know we had already seen the cold open in the Age of Legends, right?
True.
They could have easily, in the battle, something could have broken loose, and a fucking projector, something could have just projected the battle, up into the sky. Just some old relic, something. But I knew we weren't going to get that because they're trying to keep the present storyline, more medieval or more fantasy or whatever.
Ryan, go ahead. Ryan, can you do a poll real fast saying which would you rather have? Tarwin's Gap, Toman Head.
Ooh. Oh. Toman Head. I'm going to say Toman Head.
I'm going to say Toman Head as well.
Okay.
I mean, I like what they did with the blowing of the horn and stuff,
I do too. I liked how they did that.
but not on the scale that it was in the books. The scale in the books was insane, and when you were reading it, how the mist came down and the champions came down, and there were there was 100 of we got.
Well, yeah, and keep in mind, Mazrim Taim saw it in Saldea, and Loghain also saw it in Gildan, or not Gildan, wherever he was. But they both saw it, and they both got knocked off of their horses as soon as it happened.
Yeah,
like the Apostle Paul.
All right, so we're talking.
Actually, Ryan, that's a biblical reference. You just stepped on a good fucking point I just made.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, as soon as the king was crowned, the fake kings fell.
Yes.
Yep.
Basically,
what is that? The pattern? What is that?
Viren says that I think it's either Viren or Moraine who say that the pattern had only room for one true dragon, and once he named himself, it got rid of all the other ones.
Yep.
And they fell off the horse.
And I think she literally said the pattern had no use for them anymore.
Pretty much.
So
Yeah.
Right.
She got word. She goes, "Oh, that makes sense."
Yep.
Yeah, and that's fun to think about.
And we do, but we will revisit foam later in this series, and it has another huge part to the show, which I don't think is going to be on the show, but I do like it in the books.
Yep.
Okay.
Come on, Wyatt. Just
come on,
man.
pick a side.
Come on, Wyatt. Man.
You can't have Biden and Trump. All right. We are
right now we do.
I know you got to pick a side though.
Okay, imagine if we still had that old thing where like the loser just became the vice president. That would make for the funniest government in the history.
That would be hilarious.
Listen, I can't.
My
heart wouldn't be able to take it. All right, as a veteran, I'm already.
We have two veterans.
Yeah,
we have two veterans here.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I would lose my shit if we did that again.
Well, let's. We're already 100 minutes in. How you doing, Jay? How you doing? Is everyone? I mean, do we want to?
I'm
wrap
okay,
up?
but I'm going to have to wrap up very soon. I know. I'm sorry. I have crazy issues going right now.
Oh yeah, the taint.
What?
No,
oh my Lord, have mercy.
Years ago.
No, he channels. Come on.
So do you guys travel a lot? I know you do, Dan. You travel a lot?
I do.
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay, chat, you can thank me later. Have you ever been to Belarus?
No.
All right, bonus points to the very tavern.
My favorite, I think, is the Snoopy pen. That or Pigpen.
We just needed that, and it was.
That is a land horse because his face is all angles and planes, right?
Yes, you're amazing.
Mr. Scovey with the whole Bella. Oh.
Yeah. Well, all right, you're welcome. Hey, Lisa,
off
it's good to see you.
the rails.
Ooh.
Literally off the rails.
Nice.
I agree. That's when you realize, like, what I mean. The prologue kind of had like this, like, grandiosity, but I honestly almost forgot about the prologue by the time I'm like reading book 2. So,
yeah,
the whole Toman Head thing, the whole battle. I mean, it's really the first time that we realized that a freaking. I mean, we had Dark Friends before, but this is the first time we realized, shit, they could really be anybody. and
Yeah.
I could have been freaking hanging out. Shit, I was hanging out with
Right.
this
Yeah.
guy.
And each city and town really take on a life of their own. Robert Jordan took a lot of care and time into trying to cultivate the cultures, the norms of the peoples, as it relates to the natural environs and kind of the resources around it. He had it all
Now-
like wrapped up.
Something from the show that we didn't get in the book that I did like to see was them cutting up lionfish
Yeah.
in Tobin Head. I like
Yeah.
that.
Over at Atwan's Mill. Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
because and freaking was it Perrin that goes, it stinks?
And then Loyal
Yeah.
said, "Taste the delicacy of it. The fermentation is fantastic."
But again, it's just that little hint of Perrin. They just give us that little smells, or whatever. Oh,
Yep.
his sniffer's working. No, everybody can smell it. 'Cause-
Yeah, it's pretty bad, dude.
yeah. So it's like, damn it.
We will talk about Tarvalon on the next episode, as
And-
well as other
And
cities.
Amador,
And Amador.
we missed.
Yeah,
We got a lot
Well,
of.
we still haven't talked about Camelin really. so we're getting there, guys. It's
Just blame it on me. It's all my fault, and I'm
It's my
happy and proud. So Jancy, you want to hop out, and then I'll let Tavern pimp his
I'm pimping.
deeds.
Is
All right.
gear.
Nice. I'm pimping.
All right,
Love
we'll
you,
see you later,
Jay.
Jansen.
See you next week.
Good seeing
There's
you.
Jansen. Always
Good
play
seeing you.
everybody.